Oh, my friends, what are we going to do? I'm going to be missing you so much, but while you're gone, you can be working on your sewing. If you look here, you'll see that kids took fabric and felt and sewed what I like to call a little plushie, like a tiny little mini stuffed animal. Another little thing that you can do are make these little ornaments or a little tooth fairy pillow, hello, or another little thing here, little animals. So cute. These people took some pouches and just doodadded them up, folding their felt over to make like a little coin purse, or here to hold some pencils or your glasses or something like that. You could even make little sleeping bags for your tiny little creatures that you may have at home. This person even took tiny little pieces of felt and sewed them together into like bracelets. That's super cool. And then I know how much you guys love my pin cushion, so you could make your own little pin cushion just like this. Now, when you came and picked up your stuff, you may have gotten a sewing kit like this. You may have seen these before. Easy peasy. It comes with different kinds of thread. There's a limited amount of thread, so if you have anything that looks like this at home, I would ask if you could borrow it, because then you'll have even more thread than what's on here. But first you'll notice that I am taking off a little thread, and my friends, this is much smaller than we had before. And I want it to be that when I'm sitting out on my terrace, I can hear you screaming, "I did it!" Because I don't want you to get help. I want you to realize that even with a tiny, tiny little needle, you can get the thread through the eye of the needle all by yourself. Then comes the hard part. Pull, pull, pull those two ends until they're together, and then tie a knot. You know that most of us still struggle with the knot. If you have the two ends of your string together, then you make a loop, and somehow or another you got to get that tail through the loop so that you can pull it into a knot. Once you got that, you're styling. Now you should have gotten some pieces of felt from me and any other things that you grabbed from me before you left. And now I'm just figuring out what can I do with these scraps of felt. So the first thing I'm doing with a few scraps is I'm thinking, oh, it'd be kind of cute to have like a little pouch for maybe little credit cards or business cards or things like that. So I'm just cutting out a few pieces of felt. Because it's small, you don't need a lot. And I'm even kind of thinking ahead to the idea of having a pocket. Now you'll notice I'm just making this up as I go, and I can't wait to see what you guys decide to do. Now, if you want to have something on the front, you need to sew it separately, because if you sew that on while you have your back piece, that back purple piece, you're going to sew it all together and you'll never be able to get in anything inside of it. So you'll notice that I pulled my thread all the way to the knot, and now I'm pulling and putting that button on there, and I'm actually going around a few times because you'll notice that with thread it's much thinner. When you go to tie your knot, you just slip underneath, you put your needle through the little loop and pull. Now you're not done yet. You got to do it one more time. You're going to slip it underneath, put it through the little loopy doopy, pull, and then when you cut, give yourself just a little bit of space, and then you can start up again. So now that I have those embellishments on the front sewn on, I'm just starting to sew. I go from the back, from the purple to the front, and I pull. You could also do a running stitch. That's where you just go up and down along the edge, but I kind of like it this way. It gives me a little bit more space and makes it small. So you'll just see I'm working my way around. If you do run out of thread, you know what to do. You just tie a little knot, get some more thread, and off you go. This is not hard. You can do this. If your thread gets tangled, don't panic. Don't yank on it. Just go easy and see if you can untangle it. I know you can do this without asking for a lot of help. I know it. I'm positive. Now here I'm adding on my little flap on the top. Once I'm done, I can tie off that thread, and that piece of thread, don't throw it away. You can hold on to that for your next project, because who knows how many projects you can make with the stuff that I've given you. Now, there I go, just like that. Ding, da, da, da. So cute. Now I found some more felt. I decided to cut out a heart, and lucky me, I found another piece of felt that was about the same size. I'm going to hold on to that for a project later. I was kind of thinking about making myself a pin cushion, and I saw one that was kind of shaped like a popsicle. And even though I was running out of felt and I only had a teeny weeny little bit, I decided to make a teeny, eeny, weeny little straight pin holder here. So I'm sewing on my eyeballs, which sounds really weird to say, but I am. And now I'm sewing on a little mouth. And before you know it, I'm going to once again be putting, oh, I'm sorry, I'm first adding some eyelashes. Once I'm finished with this, I'm going to put the two sides together. I'm going to sew all the way around the edge, lickety-split, knowing that eventually I'm going to fill it in with some stuffing and I can put my pins in there. Now this, I always love a pin cushion, everybody does, because you can put your needle in there so that you can find it later. Here I am tying a knot. You can also put your straight pins. And here I am putting some stuffing in there. Here's someone who made like a little plushie. They put in the stuffing and then you leave a little hole, and then when you're done, you sew that up. So here I am putting that in there, and now I'm sewing it up. And back to what I was saying before, if you have any safety pins, you could put it in there. If you have straight pins, you can put it in there. A little pin cushion is a nice thing to have because you always know where your needles are. Look at that. I'm even leaving some of the thread on there so that if I'm in a hurry, it's already threaded for me. Now back to my hearts, I thought, well, I'll make a little thing out of this. You know, I got time. I'm not going anywhere. So I decided to sew on some little details here. You don't have to do it all big and obvious the way I was. It was just late at night and I was like, go on, get her done. So I'm just sewing on those felt pieces, and eventually I'm going to sew on all the rest of them. And then after that, I'm going to stuff this thing with some stuffing, which I'm also going to give to you. Now, some of you, if you were looking closely, you may have noticed when I was making my pin cushion, I actually used toilet paper. Back in the day when I didn't have stuffing, I would use cotton balls, or you can put, you can even put like rice in there if you want it to be nice and heavy. Please ask your parents, but you should have enough fluff that I gave you that you don't have to do any of those things that I used to do when I was little and didn't have fluff. Now, here I go. I even found a little ribbon. So I thought, oh, that'd be cute to tie on there. So I'm putting it in there. I am going to have to make sure that I sew that in there real good so that that doesn't pull out. And for that, I'm not going around. I'm actually going through that ribbon, making sure so that it doesn't pull out. Now, friends, if you run out of felt or if you run out of thread, you can very politely ask if maybe there is a spool of thread in your house, or if there is like a pair of jeans or something that maybe is going to be going to Goodwill, maybe has a big hole in it or something. You could politely ask your parents if maybe you could cut something like that up. You could make a little bag or a little purse. Oh my goodness, I'm getting ahead of myself. Make it stop. So for now, just use the stuff that I gave you. You're going to stuff it in there. That is so satisfying. And then once you have it like that, it could be that the thread pulled out a little bit. So you're just going to, once you have it stuffed, you're just going to give it a little gentle pull to pull those threads back together, because you don't want your stuff hanging out. That would be embarrassing. And then you're just going to keep, with every stitch, just keep tucking that fluff back in there. And eventually you're going to sew up the whole thing. You're going to tie off your knot. And before you know it, you're going to be amazed how many things you've made with just a few little things that I've given you. So I sure do hope that you're going to have a great time. You can always send me a picture or bring it. We'll have a little display area for everyone's coronavirus crafts. Here I made these 3 items. Again, if you find thread, ask a parent. Have fun.